At first I thought these two stories were the same, but they're not. These were two different stories, two different cities happening basically at the same time. It's a story about a cop being attacked and how people in one city reacted one way, people in another city reacted another way. Here's the question. If you were walking down the street and saw a cop or anybody else in some kind of physical confrontation, would you help? Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. But wouldn't it depend on you knowing in your own mind which party was right, which party was wrong, which party was attacking, which party was the victim? I think a lot of it would. So if you're a cop wrestling around with a black person on the ground at a gas station, there's a large crowd of people around you, and they're just basically yelling out legalisms, legal advice to the guy on the ground, and not helping the cop even when the guy on the ground is trying to steal the gun. We have to look at that and say they think the criminal is the victim. They think the black person is the victim and the cop is just picking on him for no reason whatsoever. Let's take a look at these two stories, two different outcomes.
Being praised tonight for coming to the aid of a police officer during an arrest. Only on CBS 11, Aaron Jones talking to the man who stepped in. And she joins us in Dallas. Aaron?
Steve, this all happened right here at Ross and Henderson. Tonight, the officer couldn't go on camera, but he tells me he believes the man who was attacking him was high on drugs. He says while this was happening, those around him just shooting video of it. Tonight, he's thanking the one man who stepped in.
I'm very low-keyed. I didn't even know what adrenaline was until yesterday or the day before yesterday.
For the first time, Steve Mabry experiencing it in full force Friday afternoon. He was driving down Ross near Henderson when he saw this, a Dallas police officer on the ground struggling with a man trying to take his taser.
I didn't even think. I just jumped out. I pulled up here real quick and jumped out of my truck, asked him what he needed me to do, and he told me to grab his arms. So I grabbed his arms and pulled them straight.
Mabry says the officer told him it appeared 30-year-old Tedis Powell was high on drugs and that someone called 911 reporting he had entered a nearby restaurant with a gun, acting crazy.
He was totally out of control and, just very erratic and saying things that didn't make sense.
They held him down until backup arrived.
It was kind of an out-of-body experience. It seemed like it lasted forever.
Officers arrested Powell for assault to a police officer, attempting to take his weapon and evading arrest. The officer says he got away with just a few scrapes and strains, which might not have been the case without Mabry's help.
He was very appreciative of what happened. I know he would do the same thing for me because he does every day. I mean, you've got to back the police department.
And Powell does have prior criminal history. He's been arrested here in Dallas County more than 20 times.
The outrage is now mounting after a Houston police officer was in a violent struggle with a suspect, and a security guard appeared to stand right there, recording the whole thing, even as the officer was begging for help. Here's Kenna Whitworth.
Somebody help me! Tonight, an officer tackling and pinning a robbery suspect with the help of a bystander. But this off-duty security guard starts filming. Police say the suspect reaches for the officer's gun.
Why did you do that? Stop grabbing my gun! Oh my God! I grabbed his gun!
The officer then pleading for help from the security guard. That suspect arrested, but Houston's police chief today telling ABC News, it says a lot about society that we would prefer to get 15 minutes of fame rather than help an officer. Tonight, that security guard is out of a job. The company says their policy requires a uniformed security guard to render assistance to certified officers upon request.
The security guard could have called 911, but it adds insult to injury to not do that and then start recording with your phone.
I mean, why would you help a cop if you thought they were an occupying force? Why would you help a cop? And the mayor of Dallas and Houston aren't that far off on this. Why would you help a cop if you think that the cops are just targeting black people? When this targeting black people thing just keeps going on and on. I saw it the other day. I have an article about it in the American Thinker, that cops are targeting black people who don't pay the fare to get on the subway in Washington, D.C. They're targeting people who smoke pot in Des Moines, Iowa. They're targeting people, black people, who who fail to appear for traffic tickets in traffic court in San Francisco. They're targeting people who smoke dope in New York State. It's one thing after it's one targeting episode after another.
Please, sir, I want some more.
For breaking laws, and the only response to that breaking the law is, well, let's just change the law because we know white cops are always picking on black people, so let's just get rid of that. Isn't that what we just saw here? I know a lot of people don't feel like saying that because nobody wants to make the black kids angry.